Welcome to Back in Shape with T. I'm Tarashe, and today we're talking Phil Heath. The question has always risen, why was Phil Heath so dominant as the 7-time Mr. Olympia? Why was he so hard to beat? The question always had the same answer. He was just a little bit better than everyone else. I think there's something more to it, something very specific. Phil Heath, I believe, is the perfect champion for the new era of bodybuilding. Phil Heath was the heir apparent to the Dorian Yates, the Ronnie Colemans, the Jay Cutlers. It wasn't just about aesthetics, but freakishness. It wasn't about having a tight midsection. As we can see, Phil Heath had that when he was younger, and he continued to keep a modicum of that even as he got huge. So he was teetering on the line of aesthetics and freakishness without spilling over, right to the edge every single time. Whereas most people would either come flat and nowhere near what this guy looked like without the kind of aesthetics that he brings. I'm going to show you this great comparison picture between Heath and Shawn Ray. Shawn Ray, clearly one of the most aesthetic bodybuilders who kept himself really toned, tight, and approximately between the weight, he said at some point 205 to 220 on stage. By today's standards, not freakishly big. I believe Phil Heath competed well over 240 pounds. People would say heavier, and some dispute it, but it doesn't matter. He was the new generation of bodybuilder, the Dorian Yates type. Look at this aesthetic Dorian Yates. He didn't have all of the hallmarks of a shredded, ripped, toned champion. There was a lot of water there. There was some fullness in the abs, but he had those flaring lats. Those flaring lats gave shape to a body that you would really not have a problem awarding a championship medal to, because the back, the shoulders, the arms really outweighed the thickness of the waist at this particular time. He was at the brink of freakishness and aesthetics, and that's why he was rewarded. Phil Heath had it a little bit better. Hell, a lot better. Truth of the matter is, Phil Heath's arms are about the best that the business has ever had. Are they as ripped and sharp as Lee Haney? No, but they are way bigger than Lee Haney, and you can see great muscle separation. You know where the bicep ends and where the triceps begin. With Dorian Yates, compare him to Shawn Ray here. Look at the spillover. Look at the waist, the obliques. He is, again, big muscle fat here. You can see the tone in his body as clear as day. But there is this level of thickness that confused the competitors of the mid-1990s. People like Shawn Ray thought aesthetics was what was in. People like Levrone thought aesthetics was what was in. But the judges had a different view at this point. It was the era of the freak. Dorian Yates had what would have been weaknesses for him in the 80s turn into strengths, and it confused many of us bodybuilding fans, because those of us who grew up loving the sport always thought you needed a tight waist. As you can see here, even Jay Cutler, as a big, huge, and some people did not like his frame, but to me, he was able to carry his muscle and not look spilt over because of the way the symmetry was. Even here, you could see Phil Heath's aesthetic and freakishness start to take over. Those explosive, what people call 3D muscles, ad nauseum, we've aired that out, really make a difference. Look at the other freak, Ronnie Coleman. Right before he was starting to lose that beautiful frame, if you compare him to Chris Cormier, Cormier looks like he's ready for a show. The other two competitors, Gunther and Ronnie, don't look like they're ready yet. Phil had that full muscle, but he looked dry as a bone. Looked like he wasn't holding water. Ronnie and Dorian looked like they were holding water. You could see the crispness, the crispy muscle separation for Phil Heath, and the length of his torso does, of all things, make his abs look better as a freak. I'm saying that big thickness that the IFBB was going for Phil Heath had the kind of torso that made many of us who love the aesthetics of bodybuilding say, this guy is amazing, unbeatable, and he's just at that brink where people can't get big without having a big stomach. He had it. That's why he was 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, and that's why he will always be one of the greatest.